And they stopped here and they started hearing to it, and they were so full of ecstasy, all three of them, that their bodies started melting and their eyes become big. It's interestingly, many of the Riti Nitis, daily Riti Nitis of Sri Jagannath are tantric in nature, particularly the ones which are happening in the evening. And he picks up that Nabi or the Brahma Bastu. It is also called, technically it is called the Brahma Padarth or Brahma Bastu. He picks it up, he takes it in a tiger cave with inside a dense jungle where the Brahma Bastu assumes the form of four-armed Vishnu, known by the name of Nilamadhav. And later, much later, when in the times of Adi Sankara, Adi Sankara had actually saved the temple, and it was under the possession of the Buddhist. In the peak Buddhist regime, took out the Brahmavastus from these deities, built new deities, new carved deities.
Namaskar. Hi, I'm Gargi, and welcome to my channel, Let's Talk Sense with Gargi. See, a few days from now, the greatest historical event of our times is going to unfold. Yes, the Ram temple is going to be inaugurated, and it's after 500 years, so it's a great victory for Hindus. There's a feeling that Sanatan is rising. In that time, I felt, why not talk about some of the greatest temples of our country? And the temples of our country are just not temples, they are history frozen in time. And these temples, there are temples which also have mystery around them. And one such temple is Jagannath Puri Dham. And as a Bengali, let me tell you, all Bengalis flock to Puri, but not many know about the mystery. And there's a mystery about how Jagannath temple is connected to Dwarka. So we have a guest today, we'll talk about it, who has researched on Jagannath Dham and Braj Bhumi for last 10 years. He's a member of INTAC. INTAC is Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage. So we'll welcome our guest. It's a little long video, but please watch it till the end. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. You'll be enlightened with so many insights and so many information and so many things which you may not have known. So please spare your time. If you can't watch it together, watch it in parts, but watch it till the end. I'm sure if you give your time, you will get value. So welcome. Let's start. Thank you. So let's welcome our guest of the day, Mr. Surya Roy. Thank you so much, Surya, for coming to my show. Thank you so much. And I think today, me and the audience will be really enlightened from your experience. So, Surya, let's start with Jagannath Temple and Jagannath culture. You have given a decade of research for Jagannath culture. So, in brief, if you can just explain what prompted you. Was it a divine calling? Something happened, or it was a sheer interest, or is it the rise of Sanatan in the last decade that prompted? What what was exactly?
So I would say it is more from a historical perspective. I would say this because interest in history, my personal interest in history and heritage dates back to my childhood days, right from the school days, and history has been in our family. My one of my grand uncles, he has been one of the earliest historians who had written Maratha history in the independent India. And my aunt, she has been an historian with JNU, of course, not the leftist kinds, but so
What were
she
the
has
names? नाम क्या है?
Dr. Ruby Roy, late Dr.
Okay.
Ruby Roy, and the grand uncle who rewritten Maratha history, who was Dr. Gupta. You can just Google them about Dr. Gupta on Maratha history. You will find them.
Okay, great.
So so that was one thing which was there in my blood, I guess, and from childhood, I mean, automatically I was pulled into mythology. I mean, those days, that is how it was to be, encoded, and Indian history, architecture, heritage, and then as I grew up, my passion kept on increasing. So my earliest days, I did a lot of research. That's what my first subject was of research, was on Second World War. And then after Second World War, I moved on, let's say somewhere between 2008, 2009. I started visiting Braj Mandal. So Braj Mandal even today is one of my key interest areas of research. And from Braj Mandal, automatically the link started to Jagannath Puri and Jagannath culture and the Jagannath temple. And, there is a beautiful tapestry between all these places, right starting from the Mahabharata days, or to be more honest, prior to that, from the Rig Vedic era, there's a beautiful tapestry which happens. So if you are into if you are into Vrindavan, then there will be an automatic lineage which comes to Jagannath Puri. And if you are into Jagannath Puri, then somewhere it will push you back to Dwarka. And then
Right.
if you are in Dwarka, it will push you back to Hastinapur. And then if you are in Hastinapur, it will automatically push you back to Kurukshetra. So that's the traverse, the reverse journey that I had actually. And that is how, my research area today spans across the Vrajmandal, Kurukshetra, Orissa, Maratha history, Dwarika to some extent, and Mewar. So these are my typical research areas. And although I belong from Bengal, but I have not been able to work on Bengal. I mean, to a very, very limited extent, I would say, that I worked upon. And so that's one point. And secondly, the first time that I mean, way back in 2008 or 9, when I visited Jagannath temple, looking at the opulent structure it is, or looking at the Konark Sun temple, it prompted me to first understand who is Jagannath, where does he come from, what is his historicity, what is his antiquity, what is this architecture all about, what are the daily riti nizis. And of course, being in the temple, as you go around the place, take a tour of all the heritage places, you hear about a lot of folklore and legends. And honestly, this folklore and legends have been so interesting. It kind
Right.
of, it generated a magnetic pull from me, which prompted me to first understand from our scriptures who Jagannath was. Where does he come from? What is the lineage which is being followed, and why it is so? And obviously,
Okay.
I started reading the scriptures from there, the Skanda Puran, the Niladri Mahodaya. To a great, I started reading the Mahabharata once again, and then some other scriptures also. And that is how today I am researching on Kurukshetra, where I have to even study the Rig Veda to a great extent.
Okay,
So that's all about.
yeah. So great journey. See, a lot of people feel, see, Jagannath, you tell the folklore about Jagannath. If you just can explain to people, because Jagannath, Subhadra, Balaram, we know they don't have hands. And there is a folklore and a lot of stories. Why this idol of Jagannath, Vishnu ka hi agar avatar hai, to why they don't have hands? And maybe I'll club another question and you can take one by one. About the Jagannath temple, so there's a lot of mysteries involved. About the flag flying the opposite direction, or about the idol of Jagannath, which is made either 8 years or 12 years or 19 years after, that neem wood. But there's a lot of mysteries. The carpenter, the people who work, they do it in secrecy. There are a lot of stories that when from one old idol, they transfer the life to the new, where they have to keep their eyes tied off. Lot of
Yeah,
stories.
that's
So
right.
if you can elaborate on, obviously, first the why Jagannath, Subhadra, Balram, they have no hands, the folklore part, and secondly, these mysteries of Jagannath temple itself.
First, understand what cultural heritage is about. Cultural heritage consists of two parts. One is the tangible heritage, and the other one is intangible heritage. So, tangible heritage is something what we can touch, feel, and see.
Right.
And and this can be a built heritage. It can be the coins. It can be the manuscripts. It can be the forts, baulis, or any type of architecture. Whereas intangible is stuff what you can't see. The skill of an or the artwork, or the skills, or the workmanship, or the the paintings of a skill. So all these typically form the intangible heritage. So now coming to Sri Jagannath, this Jagannath culture is a combination or is a perfect example of a cultural heritage, because it has components of tangible heritage, built heritage, natural heritage, as well as intangible heritage. So the dancers who have been performing for 1,000 years, or the carpenters who prepared the chariot for thousands of years, or 800 years, their skill sets are the intangible heritage. But the chariot themselves is a tangible heritage, or the temple itself is a tangible heritage or a built heritage. Okay. Now,
You
what
can
was-
just go for the mystery part, so I think that will interest the
Yeah,
people.
so basically, the current structure or the current formation of the deities that you see today
Yeah.
primarily comes from two sources. So one of the stories which or the Itihasa, I would say, which comes from the Srimad Bhagavatam, is, once in Dwarka, Mother Devki, along sitting with all the queens of Sri Krishna, particularly the eight primary queens, including Rukmini, Satyabhama, Jambati, they were all requesting her to, if she can narrate the Krishna Leelas from Braj Mandal, okay, where he had, done a lot of Braj Leelas with the Gopikas and Radhika. So and then Mother Devki said that, well, if we do that, that's very risky. But even then, since you are insisting, I would share the story. And she said that, close the doors and then I will start speaking. So they closed the doors, but eventually what happened, Krishna, Balram and Subhadra, they were passing by that room and they could overhear the stories through the little, places which were available, I mean, through the entrance of the doors, or the leeways for that matter. And they stopped over there immediately on hearing that. And they stopped here and they started hearing to it, and they were so full of ecstasy, all three of them, that their bodies started melting and their eyes become big, and that is how
And so
you
they
see
pulled
them.
in the hands, like the hands went in.
No, they started melting. Their hands, legs, everything started
Okay.
melting out of ecstasy, out of ecstasy, started melting. Their eyes became big, that is how you see the big eyes of Jagannath. The Chakanayan, that's how it is called. And, and at that point of time, Narad Muni appears there and tells Prabhu that, what is this roop? ये कौन सा रूप है? So then Sri Krishna tells Narad Muni that this is the form that will be worshipped in the Kali Yuga. Okay. Now there's another story of the Itihasa which comes up from the Skanda Puran or Niladri Mahodaya, where they say that, when Maharaj Indradyumna had collected the logs or the neem wood, or the Daru Brahma, that's they call, technically it's called Daru Brahma, and brought it to the temple for the, carving of the deities. Some say it is Vishwakarma, some say Narayan himself had come as an old carpenter. And then he told that for 21 days, the door should not be open when I'm working. But on the 14th or 15th day, when they were not hearing any sounds, Rani Gundicha, consort, the chief consort of Maharaj Indradyumna, got so impatient, and she wanted to open the door, and she pushed the king to do so. And when he did that, it was, they opened and saw the current form of Jagannath, how he's standing there, and the carpenter, not carpenter, the sculptor, the wrong word, sorry for the wrong term. The sculptor has disappeared, and then they were instructed that this will be the form which will be, worshipped, and and you'll have to follow this riti, nitis, and etc. But now let me tell you one very important thing in the Jagannath culture. Jagannath culture is, as such, it is an assimilation of many religions. So the Shaivas, the Shaivas see the Sadasiva in form of Jagannath. The Shaktas see the mother in Jagannath, okay, or the Bhairav, some see the Bhairav himself. The Buddhists consider him extension of Buddha. And that is how, if you see Jagannath culture, Jayadev Goswami's Geet Govind or some other bhakti songs, they also personify Buddha as the 9th avatara. Okay. And, there are lines in Geet Govind which specifically speak of Buddha Buddha avatar. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one part. And then it's interestingly, many of the Riti Nitis, daily Riti Nitis of Sri Jagannath are tantric in nature, particularly the ones which are happening in the evening. Because within the temple, there is the Bimla Mata temple, which is a Sati Peeth, okay, which is a Sati Peeth. And being a Sati Peeth, there are few tantric, Riti Nitis happening from that temple. And it also, Jagannath Mahaprabhu's Riti Nitis are also to some extent tantric in this thing, in nature. So, I mean, for common man's understanding, that I'm trying to say is the Jagannath culture is an assimilation of many concepts today. And it is just not the Vaishnav, it's just not the Vaishnav deity, although it is primarily Sri Krishna considered as one of the Vaishnav Pitas. You see the Ramanuj Tilak on top of the temple. But at the same time, and all the Riti Nitis, the festivals, all are, in sync with the Vaishnav tradition. But at the same time, the other sects or the other sampradayas, particularly the Shaivites or the Shaktas or the Buddhists, they also follow Jagannath or consider Jagannath their own ideology of their understanding as per their scriptures. Some see the Bhairav, some see the Jagannatha, and there is also also a concept of the three trinities, Vishnu, the Brahma and Shiva or Sadasiva. So Balaram is Sadasiva, Subhadra is considered as Vishnu, Brahma, and then Sri Jagannath is also considered as a Vishnu. That is also one of those, I would say, many concepts that are being considered. So it's pretty complex, to be very honest, pretty complex, given the.
But I'll come to this because we know about that history where you said when during Raja Indradumna's time, as per the folklore, when I think Anant Maharanda sculptor came and he went for 21 days, and then when they opened the door, when they did not get the sound, the sculptor disappeared. That was the story. But these days also, we know every 8 or 12 or 19 years, the idols are replaced, like new idols come, right? And those sculptors or carpenters, there is a lot of secrecy. And here I've heard there's a connection between Dwarka and Jagannath Dham, right? That Krishna's heart and how when they transfer the life to the new idol, although they have to keep their eyes closed, and a lot of those, if you can put some light, those stories about why, okay, that's the folklore. That time the sculptor had disappeared. Why now so much of secrecy and there are a set of sculptors or carpenters who can make that idol, and the log also, that would also need some specifications with which the Jagannath idols can be made. So this secrecy now, why?
Yeah, so where does it come from? So it basically comes from the Mahabharata times when Sri Krishna passes away and Arjuna tries to cremate him at Prabhas, which is 8 kilometers from Somnath temple. And at Prabhas, when he cremates Sri Krishna's mortal body, the body is, the complete body is not consumed by the fire. The Nabhi, the Nabhi is the one which is left over, and it is not the heart that is, I would say, popularly known as per scriptures. As per scriptures, it is the Nabhi.
Okay.
So that's when instruction comes to Arjuna that leave it, and that Nabhi comes floating to the eastern coast of India, which is Orissa, which was then known as Udradesh. In Rig Veda, Orissa is termed as Udradesh. It is also known by the name of Utkal, Kalinga, Toshali, and there are lots of other names in many scriptures, but primarily I would say it is mentioned as Udradesh. That is how it is also mentioned in Skanda Puran. And there is a tribal chief, Vishwabasu, who is also the reincarnation of Jaravyad, who had killed Sri Krishna. And Jaravyad, you have to remember, he is the reincarnation of Bali, the elder brother of Sugriv. So Bali reincarnates as Vishwavasu, okay, in a nutshell, and he picks up that Navi or the Brahma Bastu. It is also called, technically it is called the Brahma Padarth or Brahma Bastu. He picks it up, he takes it in a tiger cave with inside a dense jungle where that Brahma Bastu assumes the form of four-armed Vishnu, known by the name of Nilamadhav. So this place is currently located around 90 odd kilometers from Bhubaneswar in the Nayagarh district called Kantilo. Again, in the Mahanadi Basin, okay, and Mahanadi Basin, if
That
you
means
recall,
Vishwavashu takes the navel of
Krishna.
Sri Krishna after the cremation, and he goes to a cave, and it takes the image of it becomes Vishnu's roop.
And if you see archaeologically also, I mean, it's archaeologically also, if you see, the Mahanadi Basin has a long, legacy of Vishnu cult or Vishnu worship. There are a lot many temples in the Mahanadi temple which has been on basis surface finds that has been found with the Vishnu sculptures and extensive worship of Vishnu in the Mahanadi Valley. So archaeologically also it sums up very well, So that's one thing. And secondly, this deity is worshipped by Savaraj Vishwasu. Then comes Vidyapati, one of the courtiers of Maharaj Indradumna, searching for the deity. And I'm truncating the story a bit, okay? And he locates the deity. He marries the daughter of Vishwavasu and goes back. Vidyapati has two wives. One is the Brahmin wife he has already married, and then he marries the tribal daughter of Vishwavasu by the name of Padma. Sorry, I forgot her name. It is, I forgot her name. Anyways, I'll come to it. So he goes back. Vidyapati goes back, informs the king. The king comes with his battalion and the entire army to take back the idol or the deity, but it has disappeared by that time. The king is heartbroken. Then he is being told through a divine summon that don't be heartbroken. All this has happened as per my wish, and go back to Nilachal. So that's the technical name of Puri. Go back to Nilachal Kshetra, and you will find 4 logs coming, by the sea with the signature mark of my 4 weapons, the Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. And you will be able to identify with the help of that. So take those logs and sculpt a Vigraha, I will guide you out of the deity. So that's how the logs reach the Puri, Shahar or city at that point of time, whatever was there. And that is when, the sculptor comes, the entire process.
Sculptor disappears, and then
all that stuff happens. Then he builds a temple and goes to the Brahma Lok to invite Brahma. And then, by the time he comes back, so that is when, the sands had taken over the temple, and the temple was almost buried. And when this was happening, there was another king who came into the picture called Madhav. And then there was Madhav had discovered the temple. Then by that time, Indradumna comes back with Brahma. There is a debate which raises between Madhav and Indradumna that who has built this temple, both laying claims on it. And then one of Brahma's prodigal sons, Bhushundi, the crow Bhushundi, he was a great sage as well. Bhushundi comes and testifies that it is Indradumna who had built the temple, and Madhav is just imposter. So that is how in the Sri Jagannath culture, Madhav is also known as Gala Madhav. Okay, so this is how the temple is consecrated, and Brahma, Narad Muni, and Indradumna, performs austerity and penance, and completes a yagga where they invite Jwala Narasimha. The Jwala Narasimha form is consecrated and invoked from the fire. He comes out, blesses them, and then the temple gets operational. So that's the itihasa, scriptural itihasa, you can say. And later, much later, when in the times of Adi Sankara, Adi Sankara had actually saved the temple, and it was under the possession of the Buddhist, in the peak Buddhist regime. And Sankara had come from Sringeri to save the temple, and he established, after resurrecting the temple, he established the Govardhan Mutt, the first Shankaracharya Mutt outside of Sringeri. And at the same time, how he recovered the deities is very interesting, because it is being recorded that he had dug up the deities where it was hidden. It was hidden somewhere around Chilka. That's what the popular belief is. And the deities were already, melted, almost melted, because they were under the soil for so long. But the Brahma Vastu survived. So Sankara took out the Brahma Vastus from these deities, built new deities, new carved deities.
Brahma Vastu is that the navel of Krishna, to remind the audience. Yes, the navel of the Krishna.
So he kind of took out the Brahma Vastu, sculpted new deities, installed the Brahma Vastu inside the deities, defined all the riti nitis of the temple, everything in line with what it should be. And that is how the riti nitis that you see today, which is being followed in the Sri Jagannath culture, it is largely defined by Sankara. And later on, little bit of it was modified by Ramanujacharya, and that is how you see the Ramanuj Tilak on the shikhar of the temple. Okay.
So that means, Surya, so now also those who are making the sculptors or carpenters, whatever you call them, those who are making the new idols every 8, 12 years or 19 years, that story that the Brahma Vastu has to be transferred from the old idol to the new idol.
I'll come to that. I'll come to that. So there is a process to understand this, basically. So what happens is, as you rightly said, 8, 12, or 19 years are the 3 time frame in which the process happens. And this process is popularly known as Nava Kalevar. Nava means new, Kalevar means body or shari. Okay. And these 3 are the time frames, when Navakalevar happens. And when Navakalevar happens with the start of it's a very elaborate process, but just to truncate and make the viewers understand the key processes. One is Navakalevar happens with the start of the Bana Yaga Yatra, Bana Jaga Jatra, where the Daitapatis, who are the the Sevayats or Sevaks, under whom Sri Jagannath resides for 1 month during the Rath Yatra, they are the lineage of Sabarraj Viswavasu. They are directly from the lineage of Sabarraj Viswavasu. So they go out for this Banayaga Yatra, where they go and first they go to Kakatpur. There's a place called Kakatpur in south of Puri, which is around 50 kilometers, where there is a Devi Ma temple, which is called Kakatpur Mangala.
Okay.
They go to Kakatpur Mangala, they fast and pray and meditate over there, and from there they get the instructions that where the neem trees would be available in Orissa. So the teams divide, by the basis, the visions that are being given by the Devi, and they go and try to locate the trees based on the signals, certain parameters. So first of all, the tree or the neem tree or Daru Brahma, it has to has the mark of the 4 weapons of the Lord, Shankar Padma Gada Chakra. There has to be a cobra which resides under the tree. None of the pakshis should be should not be creating a nuisance over there by shitting and all that stuff. And these are the key parameters. And once these trees are located, they are worshipped, they are cut, and then they are carried back to Jagannath Puri. Okay.
I'll just come to the trees, because as per folklore, the logs will have Shankar Chakra Gada. So, but how now also they have to locate the symbols of Shankha Chakra.
It does
Uh,
happen. It does
It
happen.
does happen.
Yeah, it
Okay.
does happen. I have seen pictures of it, and it does happen. The symbols are
Symbols.
there.
So
So
trees with those symbols, like that's quite a miracle of nature, right?
yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
ah.
So these are then cut and through process, they are through long
Mhm.
procession, they are being brought back to the temple,
Mhm.
and where the sculpting of the new bodies start.
Mhm.
And mind you, the sculpting is done by the Daitapatis themselves. They
That Vishwavashu's descendants.
descendants. So they only
Okay.
carve the deities, and then the transmission of the Brahma Vastu, the
Mm.
Brahma Padarth happens. So as you know, some popularly that somebody has to be blindfolded. It happens in the mid of the night. There is no electricity in the entire city being taken off. All that happens. But let me tell you a little bit that the oldest servitor or the oldest of the Daitapatis does that, the senior most, because the local belief is once he does that, he would pass away very soon.
Okay.
And to be very honest, there are a lot of videos on YouTube stating that it is a nuclear reactor. It behaves like a nuclear reactor by throwing radiation. It vibrates. There's so many, I would say, popular beliefs that are being propagated on YouTube by many YouTubers, but this is not right because you see, first of all, the people who have handled this Brahma Vastu, Brahma Padarth, they will not open their mouth. Will not
Mouth,
open their
right.
mouth. Because it's the highest level of secret. It's the highest level of secret, okay? And this secret has been there for centuries and centuries. So this will never come out. So the people who have actually handled, nobody knows who have actually done that the placement. Nobody knows who was the actual person who does it. It is only known to a close group of people, and none of them will open their mouth. That's point number
But
one.
if their eyes are tied and all, how from the old, the entire process, old idol, they take the Brahma through transfer
So,
to the
Gargiji, let's keep some things secret. Even if I
okay.
know I will not be able to speak here, and in all honesty, let me tell you, they do something, and they are capable of doing many things which normal human beings are not capable of doing. Okay, because
Okay.
they are guided by the Lord Himself. They are guided by Purushottam himself. So,
Okay.
so in all honesty, what I can say is that it is not a reactor that will throw radiation. Had it been so, then all these servitors would have died many, many
Right.
years back with radiation, nuclear radiation. It doesn't vibrate or buzz or something like that. That's not true. And what is true is that one of the oldest servitors will do it. He will be blindfolded. He will be wearing gloves. It will be done in the middle of the night. And all that stuff is true, but it definitely the other stuff that you popularly come across in YouTubers, that's not true. And it is definitely not Krishna's heart, it is Krishna's navel,
Navel.
as per the
Krishna's.
scriptures.
Okay. Yeah, because popularly so many times we have heard Krishna's heart.
Yeah,
That's
so,
the connection between.
that's
So now, I will before we finish, I want you to talk a little about Vishwavashu and Dwarka, because Vishwavashu found Krishna's navel. Because recent studies say in Dwarka, it is at least 9,000-year-old city mostly. That's what I think. It can be timeless. Whatever remnants can be found from below the sea and all. And you just mentioned Vishwavashu, Bali, and Jaravyad. Many may not be knowing. So just little talk about that and Vishwavashu's journey from Dwarka to Puri.
no,
So,
Vishwavasu did not do the journey. So the naval traveled by sea
naval traveled by itself.
and came to the eastern coast in Uttar Pradesh, where Vishwavasu picked it up from the seashore. Okay. And secondly,
if you go back to Jaravyad and Bali story, Dwarka, and is it true that 9,000 years or whatever the timeline of Dwarka city? Think
listen,
what
I
they're
don't know. I don't know. Who has done the dating of 9,000?
Yeah.
So let me
Yeah, I
tell
was
you.
also thinking, is it possible to date Dwarkas and all?
No,
So-
definitely it is possible. Definitely it is possible. But let me give you a bit of archaeology and bit of oceanography into it. Because the first and the last, the excavation or the underwater excavation which was conducted in Dwarka, was done by Professor Emeritus Dr. S.R. Rao. He was the person who founded and established the Institute of Oceanography in Goa. And Institute of Oceanography in Goa is the premier institute and the only institute which conducts underwater archaeology in India. And they were the people who were heavily involved and drove the underwater archaeology excavation for Dwarka also. So that's point number one. So, and these excavations stopped in somewhere around 1987-88. After that, the Congress government did not allocate funds for this, excavations. And even honestly, and in all honesty, I don't think our present government has done enough for that. So
But
that's
this present government should have done like they.
yeah, I'll
Oh,
come to
one
that.
who-
I'll come to that. So this is one thing. The second part is that in terms of dating. So in terms of dating, two things I will only say. First of all, Professor Rao clearly mentions the similarities, the striking similarities, I would say, between the scriptural description of Dwarka as mentioned in Harivansh Puran, Srimad Bhagavatam or Mahabharata with the archaeological findings, particularly to the walls, particularly to the coins and the other structures that he had located. And as a result of that, when he was concluding his work, he clearly mentioned in his research findings or excavation findings that only the tagline Krishna's Dwarka is missing, otherwise everything is mapping. Now, having said that, you must know today, or the viewers must know today, that Dwarka typically is still not excavated, the real Dwarka. Whatever Mr. Rao or Professor Rao could do was only probably 30% of it. The real Dwarka, Krishna's Dwarka, still lies around 15 kilometers underwater from Bhed Dwarka, where even today, devotees and the local Muslim boatmen, the Bohra Muslims, they go and pour milk on the ocean on top of Krishna's palace. Okay, and the dating of what Professor Rao had done for this available structure, or to that extent whatever he could cover, primarily matches with the Mahabharata era, which is 3000 to 4000 BCE. Okay, and the Mahabharata war and the popular acceptance of the timeline of the Mahabharata war among majority of the scholars is 3102 BCE, which is also the time frame which is mentioned by Aryabhat in the Aihole inscription. Okay, which is in the 6th century. Okay, so this is the second point. The third point is that in terms of dating, yeah, it can go back to 9000 or even more, because first we need to start excavation, take out the material. And let me tell you, I had this presentation I wanted to show you. Probably I can cover it in the next episode. In Kurukshetra, there is a museum on Krishna where the artifacts, the murals, the motifs, whatever finds were there from Dwarka's excavation, underwater excavation, these are kept. And yeah, so people do not know about it, and that's why people do not go to Kurukshetra. So and
I want you to before we end mention the story so the viewers will know this connection of Bali, Vyad, and
there's no story. There's no
I know
story.
I know that you can just because we know that Krishna died because of that arrow.
Right?
Yeah.
So when Krishna died, so allow me to finish. I'll just come to it. And in that museum, in that architecture museum, you have the potteries from Dwarka. Also, you have ship anchors which were used 4,000 years old. 4,000-year-old stone ship anchors are kept in that museum, which is enormous in size. Okay. So these were, brought out by Dr. Rao. Okay, now coming to the story part of it. So when Bali is annihilated by Sri Ram, so he says, Sri Ram says that as per the rules of the karmic yoga, thing, I will be reborn. I will again be taking an avatar in Dwarika as a king of Dwarka in Dwapar Yuga, and you will be born as Jaravyad, who will seek his revenge by killing me. I have killed you, so you will kill me in the next birth. So when Jaravyad kills Krishna or pierces his feet and realizes what mistake he has done, so he falls to the feet of the Lord. And then he blesses him that don't cry, don't worry. You will be reborn as Savarraj Vishwavasu, and you will be the person who will be worshipping him, worshipping me, and your lineage will also worship me. So it actually flows from the Treta Yuga in a synchronized manner. Okay.
And Jaravyad also did not do it deliberately. By unknowingly, the arrow struck Krishna's feet.
Yeah, he thought it
Yeah.
to be a deer, beautiful deer, and that's how he
Huh.
fired the arrow.
Arrow. Yeah. I think people might have known about the Vyad story, but the connection of Bali, Vyad, and Vishwavashu, at least the Vishwavashu part, even I didn't know.
Yeah.
So the Bali and
Vidyapati. So Vidyapati had two wives, as I said in the beginning. The first wife was a Brahmin, and the second wife was Vishwavasu's daughter. Okay. And the lineage of Vishwavasu are the Daitapatis, or the muscular built people, the large, large sized people who handle Jagannath Mahaprabhu during the Rath Yatra for 1 month. And the children lineage from Vidyapati's tribal wife, that is Vishwavasu's daughter, they are the cooks of the Mahaprasad, the Mahaswars or the Swars. Okay. They're the cooks. And the Pandas or the Puja Panda, the chief priests who actually do the puja of Jagannath Mahaprabhu are the lineage from Vidyapati's Brahmin wife.
Okay.
But incidentally, there are some 120 categories of Sevayats or servitors who today serve in the Jagannath temple. 120 categories, 20 plus categories. Okay, so in each of them have their own, functions in the temple on a daily basis, and this also has the Pratihari Sevaks. Okay, and you will be surprised to know the Pratihari Sevaks are the automatic lineage of the Gujjara Pratihara clan or the Gujjara Pratihara dynasty, which ruled northern and western India for a long time. These Pratihari Sevaks are a lineage of them, and this was confirmed to me when I went up and discussed this with Dr. Meenakshi Jain. She did confirm to me on that.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of history.
Lot of history, and somewhere mythology and history merge.
Don't say mythology. Don't say the Puranik Itihas.
Puranik Itihas bole, and what some people call as mythology, and how we see how there is historical evidences, as you spoke about Dwarka, and how they merge together, and there's so much of history in it.
So look at the screen. Okay. So
Neela Chakra and Navagunjar.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see this.
Okay.
Navagunjar has. Yeah, Sarala Rashi's Oriya Mahabharat, Sri Krishna's Virat Swarup is the focus. Translates into local folklore and legend. Still of what is Mohenjo-daro, where entry passes to Dwarka city.
So let me just explain this to you. Now, what you see over here, let me just open the pointers also.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. Neela Chakra, Navagunjar.
Okay, so this is the Sudarshan Chakra or the Neela Chakra atop the.
Okay, this is the Neela Chakra. Okay.
Yeah. So now, if you closely see, there is a creature embedded over here. In all these are the creatures. These creatures are called Navagunjar, and this creature you can find him in this Patachitra, Uriya Patachitra. This is the Navagunjar. Now, Navagunjar, this is Sri Krishna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and this is Arjuna. And Krishna assumes the form of Navagunjar, which is a combination of 9 animals. Okay. And he shows his Vishwarupam in this Navagunjar form to Arjuna. Now, what you have to remember is, although the original Mahabharata was written by Sri Krishna Deva and Veda Vyas, but there has been, like Ramayana, a lot of regional Mahabharata also. So, Oriya Mahabharata, which was composed in early 16th century, mid 16th century by one of the Pancha Sakhas of Orissa,
Okay.
Sarla Das, signifies this event, okay? And
Okay.
and this on the extreme left is an Harappan seal, which was found from Dwarka. Now, Dwarka was a port city. Dwarka, Lothal, these were port cities.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, these
And-
Harappan seals were found in Dwarka.
Yeah. These Harappan seals were found in
Uh-huh.
Dwarka. And if you see, this is also a formation of 9 animals. Okay.
Right.
This is also a formation of 9 animals. So, Navagunjar.
Ah.
So one thing is for sure that due to the trade routes, due to the ships continuously traveling between Orissa and Dwarka and then en route to the Middle East or African nations, the concept of Navagunjar had flown from Dwarka to Orissa. But
Okay.
the irony is the time gap. If you see, the source of Navagunjar is Sarladas's Oriya Mahabharata. This is the Shri Krishna's Virata Roop, translates to folklore and legends, and these are the seals of Mohenjo-daro, which was processed to Dwarka city. Now, this Pattachitra also finds its place in many Oriya households in Orissa,
Okay.
Orissan architecture, in Orissan art, craft, this Navagunjar you will see. Now, what is fascinating is, and you see, one of my friends from Intact holding this Navagunjar in an architectural find in one of his,
I can see his photograph. Yes.
Yes. So now what is fascinating is the temple was built somewhere around 13th century.
The Jagannath temple, the present one, if you are talking about.
Yes.
You're not going back to the history of Indradumna.
No. The current structure. The current
structure. Yeah.
Current structure was built in 13th century, and the Oriya Mahabharata was composed in 16th century.
Okay.
And these are Harappan seals. So,
okay.
I can still relate that the Navagunjar would have traveled much earlier to the Kalingan land via the trade routings and trade happening between Orissa and Dwarka, and that is how temple Nila Chakra would have picked up. But at the same time, and same thing has been translated into the Oriya Mahabharata 250 years later. But the thing is, this Navagunjar, which finds its earliest mention in the 16th century Oriya Mahabharata, how come it was known to the Harappan people?
Harappan civilization. Okay.
So this is something which is fascinating and intriguing, that we are still unable to find the linkages that from where Navagunjar comes. That's how.
So how everything from Dwarka to Jagannath, how everything is interconnected, as you had said, and then Mohenjo-daro seems to be connected. That's amazing. So I think, how do you sum up that? You just said that even the present government has not done much for excavation of the real Dwarka. So any message for us?
As I said, that after 87, 88, no real excavation has happened. And today, whatever remains are there in Dwarka, waiting to be, excavated, are in constant danger. Danger from the continuous increase of maritime activities in Dwarka region, and the petroleum waste, the sonar radiations, the noise pollution, everything is causing damage to the structure. And very recently I came across a very high official in ASI, and his response when I put up the issue, his response was quite pathetic, and he said that till all these years since it has survived, it will survive. So that's the kind of approach that our premier body ASI has towards heritage, architectural heritage. But the fact remains, even Professor Rao, 40-50 years back when he had done this excavation, had clearly mentioned in his recommendations that maritime activity should be limited in this region.
Okay.
But then none of those governments who were there at that point of time, none of the present day government, they have taken a serious note of it. The only credible action that I have seen happening is removing illegal encroachments in Great Dwarka Island, and that's all about it. Nothing else has happened. So archaeologically, from a heritage perspective, from an oceanographic perspective, from a numismatics perspectives, nothing has happened actually. The Ministry of Culture and even the Ministry of Culture to a large extent is responsible for this, because all this is should be driven by the Ministry of Culture.
Okay. But you are also part of Intact, so you can also,
See,
your job is to
Intact-
enlist the heritage sites.
Yeah. As Intact, as people in Intact, Intact will not be able to venture into areas which is an ownership of the government. Okay. Intact today partners with ASI and delivers many of their projects, but it is only when ASI approaches them and ASI asks them to work on that. But there are a lot of foreign bodies, lot of Indian bodies who are willing to excavate Dwarika even today, apart from ASI. Funds are there, but the intent, the approvals, etc. are missing. So that's largely the story.
Okay. Thank you so much, Surya. I think so much of history, so much of stories we have come to know, and there's so much more we can talk about. And I think there's also a message to the ASI and Government of India also to to reduce the maritime activities. So thank you so much. Maybe we'll have more episodes on other places that you have covered and all. And I wait for that day. Thank you. I hope the viewers are also enlightened with so much stories and your experience.
So thank you for watching and watching till the end. Please put your comments because that will encourage me. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.